All right. It says that we're live. It says that we're here. I hit the button. No views yet. Someone will trickle in eventually. I've been doing my due diligence. I have daily videos coming out this week. I have the bullet
Nice.
summons, and we're introducing a new faction for the supplement coming out. Uh, and it was introduced and created by Fat Dave. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hi, I'm Dave from my channel is Total Blackout Painting, and I do spray painting stuff. And yeah, so I made a Shadow Wizard Money Gang painting after my son had requested it for fucking almost a year straight. So uh, that's
Wait,
why we're
so this was your son's request?
here. Yeah, he'd been requesting Shadow Wizard Money Gang for a long time.
Shadow Wizard Money Gang, and that was the video that became this faction.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. So, literally without any motherfucking ado, we're going to introduce the Shadow Wizard Money Gang. Right there. There it is. Like these are my boys.
Yeah.
Okay. So when he made this request from Pops,
Mhm.
what was what was the idea? What was the concept?
So it's a bit of a meme. There's a song called it's called Gout by some grunge rapper named Joey, and the beginning of it is the video I made for this song. I used that song in there, and the beginning of it just says Shadow Wizard Money Gang. We love casting spells, and so that kind of somebody made some goofy drawings with like. Wizards, a Shadow Wizard Money Gang. So there's some really goofy, simple drawings if you Google that. And so I took that, and the simple drawings that are out there, kind of like they look simple, but they're not easy to fucking make look good in spray paint.
All right, all right.
Sometimes stuff is, if it's so simple, it just doesn't work too well with the like. And
Okay.
there's some fine lines in there that made it really difficult. Um, like if I was doing it on a wall, no problem. It would have been no problem. But doing it on a sheet of poster paper is kind of a problem.
Okay,
But
so this was legit like a meme your child wanted brought to life by dad.
yeah, that's
See,
pretty much what it was.
I
So
had no fucking clue. I was completely ignorant.
yeah,
I saw you doing the video. You posted it in I think it was in Sultans. I found it,
yeah.
and Sultans of Chatelet, shout out, go love Bezek and the boys. Um, so and by the way, Total Blackout Painting, their link is in the description of this video. So by all means, check out the video of him making this thing. It is absolutely gorgeous, and the process is amazing. And the music, as you can tell, also top tier. Anyways, so I'm watching this going, Shadow Wizard Money Gang. You know what? It's mine. I want it. I want this in my game. For those of you who are new, I make the Shades of Dominion. I am its creator, its originator, its God Almighty, and I've made a game that is basically Magic the Gathering on tabletop. And um, when when I told Dave, look, this is gonna be a Shades of Dominion faction. Um, Tell me about because you went back and commiserated with the boys.
yes.
I didn't know who the boys were. So one, who are the boys, and what did y'all come up with when you all said we're gonna make this Shades of Dominion faction?
So actually, no. It's funny as I saw that because when I posted this and then I went camping, and when I was on the camping trip, I had a little bit of service, and so I saw the post while I was out camping. So I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Based,
Told my friends, yeah.
based.
And so I told my buddy that I was camping with my son, and we talked about it a little bit then, and that's when I was like, Shadow Wizard Money Gang seems Orzhov. seems a little black and white. But then we came back and I talked about it. So my boys are my literal boys, my sons, and then I have a bunch of buddies. I got a play group that comes over. I run magic out of my place 2 times a week. We do casual
Nice.
here.
Okay. All right. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
So yeah, we play a lot of magic, and we used to do a lot more other stuff. Mostly we just play magic. And then I got lots of friends. There are people coming by a lot. So
All right. So the main theme that y'all got behind was Orzhov.
yeah. So what?
And-
Yeah, we
Okay,
said
so go on with that.
We said Orzhov aristocrats.
Okay.
It seemed like Shadow Wizard money gangs seemed a little bit like extortionist, like
Yeah. Yeah.
taking
Totally, dude.
like they're underground. They're trying to get theirs. They're a shadowy cabal of wizards trying to get theirs. So I think the Cabal of Acquisition is an excellent translation of that.
All right. I'm glad that at least the name did you some justice.
Yeah.
Now, I my hopefully the people who are around me know my opinion on AI art. I'm not an artist. I'm a writer, and if I'm publishing content and it needs art, because if I don't have art, when you want to buy like a fantasy novel or like a role play book, buying a text file is bullshit and no one wants it. So I use AI to supplement what I can do because I can't fucking pay for this shit. So my deal with my audience when it comes to AI art is the AI will be here until you replace it. But when you manage to replace it, fuck, I'll send it back. I'll replace it and send it back to you for free. Like that is my oath and covenant to the fans.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we have AI art of Shadow Wizard Money Gang, or as they are now, the Cabal of Acquisition. Behold, it doesn't get more Orzhov than that.
No, for real, that's pretty dope.
There we go. Like this is my favorite, faithful to the true original, right here.
And I used AI to help me generate that stencil too. So I can't take all, like I took that Shadow Wizard Money Gang concept and put it through the AI a few times until I got something I liked, and then worked that up into a stencil.
Oh, nice.
And that's how I do a lot of my stencils. Is I use AI. I'll get an idea and I'll help it. I'll get an idea of what I want, and then if I can get a good enough image that I can make a stencil out of it, then that's what I do.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. Because, I mean, I'll be honest, just coming up with something from, because again, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Coming up with something just out of the ether from scratch is not my grind. Like, I don't have the energy, the skill, or the time.
Right.
But, and your favorite medium isn't even like pen and paper. It's spray paint, right?
Yeah, it's spray paint. That's what I do, mostly spray paint.
All right.
And so yeah, I don't do fine line drawing that often, and I haven't done a lot of it, and not since friggin' high school at least, So
I hear that. I hear that.
Now, one thing I really do like doing is painting minis, but like finding the time to do that, because that's a process. Like that's a sit down like thing I got to do.
Now painting minis. What minis do you paint?
So I have a Warhammer army, but I don't use. I don't hardly play Warhammer anymore. But actually, I have a Chaos Warhammer army. We've got Age of Sigmar stuff. My son he kickstarted the Marvel Zombies Zombicide campaign.
Really?
To the highest level. And so he has everything that is ever going to be made for that game.
Nice.
Yeah, he got like a fucking 2 foot tall Galactus figurine.
Oh God.
It's freaking
okay.
It's awesome. But it's super cool, but it's cumbersome.
Okay.
Because what the hell you get? Where you get
I
2 foot tall Galactus figurine? You know?
I have no idea. You just put it on the board and say "fuck you," I win. That's
Yeah.
pretty much how that goes. Or is
But
he
yeah,
like
we have dozen or have that's like 110 minis right there. So,
okay?
and then we have a Pathfinder campaign that I do every so often here in person, and I painted my minis for that. I paint minis for them, for my friends, for those two, and so
Oh,
my
so you're the dungeon master that goes above and beyond.
well, I'm not a DM. I'm just a player and a guy that likes to paint, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so the problem with painting, like the problem with painting minis, especially lately though, is because I'm getting older and my eyes are getting worse, and so I'm needing more and more assistance to paint up close, and that's frustrating. That like hurts my pride. So,
Ah. Okay, now before we continue, I have a few more slides to get through, but before we get there, um, what because every faction has kind of a twist on the shade and magic,
mhm.
and you wanted this cabal to be uh, inspired by the Orzhov, and so I was asking you to think about how they use magic, what their tactics are, how you imagine them um, interacting with the shade and with their opponents and their enemies. And there are three general styles you can adopt in Shades of Dominion.
Okay.
You can be a spell slinger, just
Mhm.
straight up spells. You can be a summoner. You can use your shade minion, your shade summons to attack your enemies, or straight up just combat, where the shade mage themselves just uses whatever enchantments they can on their weaponry and in their own kind of specialized combat uh, to take on the world. Um, have you given like any more thought to that kind of aspect to this shadowy cabal?
Yeah, yeah. So because they're shadowy cabal and they are cabal, they're going to be they're going to want to work behind the scenes, right? They're not going to want to be the ones on the front line. They're also not going to be the ones revealing themselves, right? So they're going to hide. So they would definitely be more of a summon thing, right? They would have minions do their bidding, very much like Orzhov has now, right? Like or
Yeah.
had the Ghost Council. They have people do shit for them. They don't actually go out and do shit themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
even the cards play that way, you know. They're like,
Yep.
extort, just give me a little bit. Just give me a little bit, you
Uh
know.
huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I think that would be far closer to the play style
Okay.
that would come from like for a Shadow Wizard money gang or a Cabal of
Yeah,
Acquisition.
I actually agree with you a lot on that. Like when I first started like formulating how they would engage in combat, um, I definitely thought they would be summons heavy,
Yeah.
and that led me to actually think of, well, if one had to go hand to hand, or if they had to, cast a proprietary spell, it's I'm the guy who has to think about um, those kind of potentialities, because sure enough, one of my players is going to pick it up and go, I don't want to summon with Orzhov or with Cabal of Acquisition. I have to be, you could do that, absolutely. And so, but first things first, as we go through these slides, I'm going to kind of explain a few things. Yes, they like money. They collect money. And but these aren't just regular gold coins, because in the Shades of Dominion, um, you have to understand the entire The entire ethos of this game and this universe is there's no magic. It's all the shade.
Huh.
And the shade is a finite resource.
Hmm.
And when you pull the shade from the realm or from the world that you're standing on, you are literally killing the world you're standing on. And so there's a very good incentive for shade mages to enchant artifacts and make sure that when they are using, for the lack of a better word, the shade or magic, that they're not actually spending any shade. They're using an enchantment or another medium, or you can just be an amoral asshole and just go off and draining realms as you go along. That's really up to you. But in the lore, there is a the last shade mage known to be on the realm of Earth is a one Nikola Tesla, who invented
Nice. Oh, that's
who,
awesome.
yes, he is the last shade mage from Earth, because you have because basically what happens is, as a realm is depleted of the shade, its magic goes away. There are no more dragons. There's no more fountains of youth. There's no more um, gnomes or elves or anything of that. Like the literal magic ability, the thing that makes the world magical just dies. And so, as Earth's history has gone through Shade Mage age after Shade Mage, the world just kind of deteriorates to where we are now. The last phase of a world is something like the moon, or something like a Mars, where it can barely potentially sustain a little bit of life, but it's mostly dead. And after you drain that of the shade, it just breaks apart. Like there's nothing holding it together anymore.
That's cool.
Yeah. So and it really does. If you've watched our streams, there is a dynamic of anxiety with the players of, holy shit, I'm about to drain some of the shade from this realm, and when I'm done, there are going to be consequences, because it's a blind. The players don't see the shade realm, the realm shade track on during the game. They just know that they're taking a piece of the world with them. And however much they take, depending on how much is quote unquote left, is going to determine how catastrophic the effects are. So when they siphon the realm, it is quite the experience. Um, However, so going back to our original diatribe, these are not just golden coins. These are from a drop kiosk, and these are called drops. And what a drop is the shade mage Nikola Tesla from his new homeworld Ios, that's spelled EYOS, has created these drop kiosks as a form of shade mage currency and commerce. Crypto for shade mages, because
Yeah.
it's you're spending the shade. So, and you can't outsource it. You can't fake mint it. It's the shade. It's the finite. It is the life force of the worlds, and you're using it for magic.
It's on the blockchain.
Exactly. And on the world that Nikola Tesla is residing, called Ios, he has made a deal, and as only Nikola Tesla would do, has created an economy out of the natives there, where they make artifacts using literal science to replicate what the shade can do.
Hmm.
That's
Kind of
what
like
Nikola Tesla does.
they're like the Ixians in Dune.
Like what?
The Ixians, or
The
the Twilight.
Nixians
The Ixians, the people from Ix in Dune, or
in Dune?
yeah, they're like
Tell
trying
me
to
more.
with the
I
space.
have no idea what this is.
Oh, you don't. Oh, it's Dune lore. The Ixians,
Okay.
they were the science people in Dune,
Mm-hmm.
and so they were they were always trying to build to replicate kind of what people could do. And actually, I was wrong. It was the Tleilaxu. The Tleilaxu are the ones who replicated the spice later. I was going to say
Ah,
the Ixians, but it was the Tleilaxu that replicated the spice later. So after Leto became the God Emperor, Leto II became God Emperor and shut down spice production for the rest of the universe. The Tleilaxu had determined a way to create artificial spice.
okay.
So that's kind of like this. So this is like the it's like that. They're trying to do they're trying to emulate the real thing,
Exactly.
So
And but they're using quote unquote science to get it done, no harm, no foul.
yeah.
But still, it's Nikola Tesla who's concerned with the survivability of his realm. So, of course, you're going to hand him shade. You're going to pay him in proper coin. So, that's what you're seeing in this picture. You're seeing them having stacks of drops. That's what these mages, this Cabal of Acquisition is after. They're after shade,
Yeah.
and they don't want to. They don't want the fake stuff. They're just not here for your title, your deed. These are shade mages, and a shade mage is really cognizant or like is really harking back to what an old school planeswalker was, which was a freaking god.
Yeah.
When a shade mage comes to a world, it is cataclysmic as an Urza walking into your living room. It's not pleasant. It's not fun, and you will be hated. And if you do enough damage, like after enough siphons from a realm, you will have entire nations trying to hunt you.
Yeah.
And that's the environment that a shade mage openly plays in. So back to the Cabal of Acquisition. They deal with demons and spirits as per their Orzhovian origin would suggest.
Oh, that's so dope. That's
And look at that.
that's so cool.
I mean, so when it came to the Cabal of Acquisition, I've decided I kind of like, okay, so they're gonna be summoning base. They're gonna be summoning. They're gonna want a lot of summoning. So we need two types of summons. We're gonna have those summons that, they kind of chump block. They kind of like the we'll call them the indebted. And then you have those summons that are the creditors. You have these demons that, as you the demons that make the contract that allow the little monsters to do their bidding. So let's get into some mechanics, if you don't mind. Actually, let's. Did you have any ideas on this, or do I just need to run with it?
Just run with it and let's go, and I'll hop in when I get a.
All right.
I'll interject when I got something.
All right. Let me know if let me know if I'm off base. Let me know if there's something you want to add.
Oh yeah.
So I was really trying to figure out. Okay, so we have. And with the Orzhov, they have two different abilities. They have the extort, which is the ping you for a little bit here, a little bit there, and then you have the haunt mechanic, which is really interesting because what that does is it says exile this creature after it dies to attach it to another creature so that you can get a replicant effect. Basically,
Yeah.
you can. Let's say you made a player discard a card when it came into play. That creature dies and it haunts another creature. When that creature dies, they have to discard a card again, like that kind of effect.
Yeah.
And so I said to myself, we need we can combine these two things, and there's no reason not to. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, go ahead. It was mine. My
Background. Okay, that's fair enough. So I'm like, we need to combine these two things because what can happen here is the Orzhov summons a creature, and their intent is to sap coin or mana or coin or shade or life from the target. So they have so they summon a creature, and that creature is really not worth too much to them until it dies. That's going to be your chump. That's going to be your debtor summon. Then you have the creditor. You have this demon that is going to come onto the battlefield and be the source of sacrifice. If the opponent isn't willing to kill the thing that's going to harm them, you're going to make damn sure it dies anyway, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
so that's kind of where this guy comes into play. He's going to be that kind of, the reason behind the scenes. So the ability I wanted to give them, yes. So this is that relationship. You have these two minions on the side. You have the big honcho in the middle. Who's orchestrating the real damage.
Man, that's cool.
All right. Yeah. This I was able to use the AI prompt to just absolutely go places I didn't even know it was going to take me.
Cool.
And it is very Orzhovian. It has you can imagine these as the thralls,
Yep,
more humanoid shape.
Look like thralls. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, okay, so to make Shades of Dominion make sense, I had to do a couple of things with regard to dominions, the color and whatnot. So in the Shades of Dominion, there is that you have the 5 basic dominions. You have, and they represent the colors. There's blue, there's black, red, white, and green. What I did after that is I broke each of those into 3 different parts. You following me?
Yep.
Sorry, come again?
Oh no, yeah, I got you. Keep going.
All right.
Sorry,
So,
my son's yapping in the fucking background, so I had to mute myself. I just stepped outside, so keep going.
You're all right. So in addition, so each of the 3 colors are divided into 3 different parts. And in the black, you have ambition, darkness, and death. But because Orzhov is also white, the purity section is divided into light, order, and protection. And I was looking at the different abilities of these 6 different attributes and how they combine. Now, obviously, Orzhov, Cabal, Acquisition. For the black side, we're going to go with ambition, and ambition is the attribute where summon a creature. It requires a sacrifice because it's bigger and beefier.
Yeah,
that's ambition. Pay a wound and automatically deal 1 wound to everything within a 10-foot radius. That is ambition. You're paying a cost.
That's
for your yes.
That's totally off right there.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but then we go to order, and order is the one where you can banish or exile cards. Order is also the one where let me pull this up just from my end. I'm not going to show everybody and their mother what I'm up to. This is mainly for my reference. Open up, dang you. There we go. All right. Okay, yes. Order is the kind of like the combat readiness aspect of it. It destroys enchantments. It can banish. It can influence one target to not attack. It's also avenging. Like it does all of these really combat related um, kind of things. But the key ability of the order is banish, and banish is an instant, and you pay one purity plus X, and it says that a non-legend, non-mythical target is removed for the counter for X turns. If the target is a shade summon, it's instead destroyed and cannot be recharged for X turns. And that's where we get to the really Orzhovian nature of these of this Cabal of Acquisition. Their ability to, when their creature is killed in combat, to banish it indefinitely so it can haunt another target on the field. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So their sacrifice, their payment, is this creature that is banished to haunt something else, and that's how they do their. That's how they trigger the quote unquote extortion. And I'll be honest, I haven't really gotten into how that extortion is going to work. I haven't decided whether it's going to be life or whether it's going to be shade. That's up in the air. And that's kind of where I wanted you to come in and help me flesh out how they're going to fulfill this new ability. This how do I, what do I call it? I call it it's actually called a character aspect. It's something that this particular faction is going to be absolute badass at.
Yeah.
So they can it's the reason why you would pick this faction, if that makes sense.
Right. So I could see how you could make something really powerful that way. But it feels like it needs to have something balanced, especially with something like Extort. Like I see in this framework of the game how you could, because it seemed like stealing shade from somebody is an incredibly valuable thing, right? Like,
Yes.
but I guess, in terms of just the game as a finite resource, there's a board game at the time as you're playing it. Of course, there would be a limited amount of that. Now, just straight stealing that from people would be good. That would be really cool. I don't know if that is entirely what they do, though, because they would also tax life. And so it seems like that would have to be, it would kind of have to be an ability that could do either, depending on, I would say, depending on the circumstance you've put yourself in the game. Right, like in certain situations, it's only life, and in certain situations, it's only shade.
You are dead on the money. That is exactly what I came up with. Holy fuck.
Yeah. So, all right, good.
Okay, so what I did in this and on my notes as I was thinking about this at work is I called this Exogeist, the Exogeist ability. When they haunt an NPC or but when they haunt an NPC or as they say or as we say in the game, non-mythic, non-legendary target. What they do is, I have to back up. I have to explain another mechanic to you.
All right.
See, all right. So, as I said, when you're translating magic to another, to a tabletop medium, how do you represent discarding cards?
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, without actually discarding cards. I don't know. burning spell slots, depending if that's something that
I
do.
considered that, and I tried it, and I just realized, well, this is fucking useless unless I'm encouraging PvP. so
Oh yeah.
so what I settled on is something called stress counters.
Okay.
And what a stress counter is it's a -1 debuff to all of your skill checks. And in Shades, even combat is technically a contested skill check. So stress counters are a way of paying a cost. I just made another faction called the Dementors for the Corruption Dominion,
Ooh.
and they are heavily inspired from the Dementia Summoners from the Torment block,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
and they're they've basically unlocked the Dark Ritual card. But the way they do it is they pay that one corruption shade, and they pay they give themselves a stress counter, and through that payment they're able to give themselves 3 corruption shade just off the bat.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like that trade off of power for sanity
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
personally
yeah.
yeah. So going back to Exogeist, of course, name pending. Um, what this does is whenever you have a creature that died in your service, you can instead banish them, which would make them unable to be resummoned. But they're also haunting a target, and as long as they're haunting the target, you treat the target as if they have a stress counter, a number of stress counters equal to um, their shade cost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So as long as you have these stress counters on the target, and stress counters have a baseline rule. When you hit stress counters equal to your toughness, bad things happen. Okay?
Okay.
So when a member of the Cabal uses Exogeist and the target has stress counters equal to their toughness, it's basically lifelink. They lose a wound, you gain one up to your max.
That's good.
Now, if the target, sorry, go on.
Oh, so no, yeah, I like that. Keep going.
Now, as you said, it changes based on circumstance. So, if the target is not an NPC, but either another player or another shade mage or something that is, shall we say, a little more shade heavy, then they steal shade.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Once they have that kind of repertoire, or once they've established that link to the shade directly, yeah, they're going to start they're going to start plundering as much as they can, so they can go to one of the drop kiosks and turn in their gold. So that's the ability I've come up with. It's a character aspect called Exogeist, that allows them to disable their summons, to add these stress counters for this extra boon.
Yeah, that seems very Orzhov. I like that.
All right. Okay, and that's really all I have at the moment. Let's go through the rest of these slides. He looks rather amazing. Yeah, yes, opulence and then just sheer badassery. Just they're sometimes they don't even hide it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so rad. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super excited to play around with this AI. I had no idea. I play with. I usually do Hot Pot, or I have a Mid Journey subscription. I was using Stability for a little bit, and then I also the Bing AI does some okay black and white work. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I'm excited
This is
to play with
called
this.
Leonardo.
Yeah.
AI, and it costs like $10 a month, and to give you like a how many tokens do I have like 9,000 tokens,
Oh dang.
and I could not use all 9,000 if I wanted to, and I'm just churning out images to get something close to. Do you know how
Right.
hard it is to use AI to say, okay, I want an image of a mage shooting a spell or shooting a slingshot?
Oh yeah.
It's
No,
a it's a pain in the ass. It
yeah.
is. Oh my god.
It is a pain in the ass. You're right. It's a super iterative process. That's the other.
Hmm.
It's like you just got to do it over and over and over again until you get what you want, basically.
Exactly. So we see, and this was an image I wanted of an acquisition mage summoning one of their debtor spirits.
That looks cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this pimp. Look at him.
That's rad.
And this was Orzhov Haunted Armor
Oh, that's cool.
was what I was going for with this one, and I really liked the result. Um, yeah,
That is cool.
Haunted Armor for the Cabal of Acquisition.
I think it's hilarious how the AI tries to put like words down at the bottom,
I
but
I
it doesn't
I
understand
didn't.
their words.
Yeah.
Like, so it, because what it's done is it's scraped all these images off the internet, and it's like armor or something, and so it references all these images that it's seen that have tags similar to what you want, right? And so a
Hmm.
lot of those images are display images people put up, and they have tags at the bottom of it that are the name, right? I think they'll have the name at the bottom of it, and so the AI
Huh.
doesn't actually see that as it doesn't actually see that as writing. It just sees it as part of the image. So it's like, oh, there's scribbly shit down at the bottom of the picture. I'll put scribbly shit down at the bottom of the picture because that's what these pictures usually have on them. So,
Indeed.
so that's what I think is interesting about the little goofy things that, like the goofy letters that AI puts in when nobody's asking it to.
Exactly. Normally, I would go through and edit this out because it is still somewhat an art form that I have to work with and struggle for.
Oh, right.
Um, so that is pretty much what I am at with the Cabal of Acquisition. What are your thoughts on it? Do you like this translation?
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's really cool. I think the way
Okay.
that ties in there. Like, I think you've done like I think that's a good idea. Or I think you've got a good like solid. It's a good translation. I'm trying to think of the fucking words to say it. It's a good translation of the abilities into your framework. So I really think you've done a good job.
Okay. Thank you. And all right. Now all I need is to get a group of players together. Because I shit you not, as I think I was telling you this before. Like, one of the reasons that I'm trying to promote this game is because I want to play it. I
Right.
want to get to the point where it is popular and big enough that someone else will run the game.
Oh, right.
Because I I want to make a shade mage. I want to I have a whole bunch of ideas and builds that even I want to test out because there's nothing more fun in this game than the kind of player who wants to try and break the system.
Right.
Because if you played Magic the Gathering, that is almost the entirety of what people try to do is like make something that is absolutely broken in cheese.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
wanted a system where the players would meta to the point where they felt confident, walk in, and then find someone else to do the exact same thing and have that kind of balance out. Um, so I've made these different combinations. Like for example, there's a potential combination for a poison ivy mage. I've already made the found work for the Time Lords, a
Oh,
la
nice.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I want to make a squirrel and a squirrel flavored Skaven faction.
Now that's I was gonna ask if there's non-humans in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
So
There's let me pull up the rule book. Let me pull up the rule book. Let me take a look at, because we have different realms. Page up. Ah, yes. Sapia. Sapia is a realm torn of most of its shades, similar to Earth and Ios. Reasons for this are unknown, but unlike both of those realms, Sapia's natives never advanced beyond Stone Age technology. The natives are humanoid gorillas, felines, serpents, canines, and avians. Survival in Sapia is based purely on biological adaptation. As opposed to humans of Earth learning technology, the natives of Sapia can morph their physiology in minor ways to overcome the challenges in front of them. This gives them the ability to acquire most combat aspects for a limited time without needing the use of the shade. So yes, there are realms and races that specifically, yeah, there is planet Yif in the Shades of Dominion. I'm ashamed to admit. No,
oh,
I don't.
no, you can never get away from them, fuckers.
I don't. I do not condone the furries, but I must give them a home. I must confine them.
Yeah, it's best to know where they are.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
You will go here.
give you a homeland so that I know where the fuck you are. So that I
We,
can
we,
deal with you if I need to later.
we will conduct exterminatus at our will and pleasure.
That's right. It's like on Futurama when they sent all the robots to. They sent all the no. They kept all the robots on Earth because global warming was going to kill them. Everybody was going to leave. Oh no, they took all. Fuck, I'm retarded. They took all the robots and put them somewhere else, and then because they were committing. Ah, shit. Anyhow, I can't remember the plot. It's the one where Nixon took all the robots and they put them on a planet. And I'm trying to think it was Earth. Shit, I haven't seen that episode in so long. They put all the robots on one planet so that they would pollute that, and then
Oh God.
going to take all the humans off somewhere else. And so it had
Okay.
something to do
All
with
right.
global warming. I'm so
Okay.
embarrassed. I can't remember that episode now. I feel like I'm such a failure as a Futurama fan. I forgot the fucking plot line for that that episode.
All right. So
Anyhow, keep them all on one planet so you know where they are, so you can deal with them later. Perfect.
yes.
Well, I
All
was
right.
going to comment on how the it's unfortunate that the concept of animal people has been so co-opted by friggin' degenerates.
Yes.
I hate that so much. And yeah, I hate that there's so many of them running our IT infrastructure.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
This is where I need assistance. This is going to be your final contribution.
All right.
Let me actually switch this up a little bit. Give me one moment. By the way, any shilling you would like to do, now would be the time.
Oh yeah. So my latest video, the Shadow Wizard Money Gang video, which I think did you put that in the description here or did I?
No, I did not. I did leave a link to your channel.
Let me throw the Shadow Wizard Money Gang and I'll just throw it in the chat here
Okay.
for that. I am currently working on I think I put on put it in, posted somewhere in the Sultan's Discord, and I think I posted the pictures of him in Sultan's Discord. Maybe I only put them in mine. Anyhow, I'm making an angel right now. I found a really cool stencil, a really cool image of a little boy with wings and a halo, and so I cut that out, and that's the video I put together today, and I just need to get the
Nice.
thumbnail, and I'll have that out. Should have that out by Friday. So that's just
Okay.
gonna be a little angel boy. I don't know if I have anything better for it than that, but any of a better title than that. But you know, the like 15 people that watch my videos will they
Okay.
don't care. So
Okay.
and yeah, thumbnails is something I've really tried to focus on. I've had a lot of fun with some of my thumbnails recently. So that that's my shilling, I guess. So
Okay. Oh, hang on.
oh yeah, and then of course always Sultan's on Saturday. Not going to be there this Saturday because I'm going to be camping with my grandkids, but Sultan's on Saturdays mornings.
All right. So here's where I need assistance.
All right.
The Exogeist ability that we gave them is it comes at a price in the Shades of Dominion. And we call these shade afflictions. So for not every character aspect, but when you create your character at character creation, um, you have depending on the playstyle you want to develop, whether it's again spell slinging, combat, or summoning.
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom of each of those character aspects, which are a character aspect is something akin to like a Dungeons and Dragons feat. It's something that you in particular have kind of specialized into,
Mm-hmm.
except it's magic based. And it's kind of like it represents those global enchantments that you would have in your deck.
Right.
So again, making the game make sense,
Right.
as it were. So the cost of having this character aspect of Exogeist, where they're able to use to banish their killed off shade summons to haunt their other victims, they're going to need a corresponding shade affliction for that kind of power, that kind of specialized weaponry. Because in the Shades of Dominion, the reason why the shade is the way that it is that it's magic deciding, fuck this, I'm done being used. I'm going to be the puppet master now. So every time you interact with the shade, it's going to say, okay, you have this power. Because you have it, here's the price. And we get our shade afflictions.
Kind of like the abyss staring back kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. This can be this can be best compared to like having like a Vampire the Masquerade, a specified clan affliction based for the kind of magic you use.
Oh yeah.
So, again, this comes from the Shade Master section of the rule book, where it says another way you will need to accommodate a player bringing their deck to the game is to take a look at their enchantment cards. In this RPG, those cards are replaced by character aspects. Feel free to create unique character aspects for these players if they are not already represented in this core set, but they must include an appropriate shade affliction to accompany them. Creating shade afflictions, therefore, is the key. A shade affliction must contain these three parts. 1. They are absolute statements. They contain the words must, always, never, etc. They are not up to interpretation or speak to the intent of the character or player. This is not a psychological thing. It is a compulsion thing. It's an action thing.
So
And they all
it's like an actual physical thing. It's not a psychological thing.
correct. The best example of a shade affliction I can think of off the top of my head is in the Purity Dominion. There's an aspect for those using the light, one of the light groups. And the shade affliction for light is you must tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Oh. That's kind of brutal.
Yeah. Do not send this character as the face of your party. And number 3, they always
Keep his
directly affect the
autistic ass in the
physical
back.
interaction. Sorry, go on.
I said keep his autistic ass in the back.
Well, and I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Purity is the autistic dominion. They are clean freaks. They are orderly freaks.
That's
They
funny.
are the truthful, naive freaks. That is purity to a T.
It's like this guy has to always wash his hands after he. It's kind
Um,
of OCD.
there is a cleanliness affliction. I will put it that way. So you have these players building these absolute bitching combos. They're kicking ass. They're taking names, and then they realize, holy fuck, I messed up my affliction. And that brings in a whole new aspect of the game, which we'll save for the streams when we actually do that. But number 3 is they always directly affect the physical interaction of the player. Shade afflictions are not psychological or internal.
Yeah.
They are like compulsions, not feelings or thoughts. And it goes on. Shade afflictions are intended to be a wrench in the gears of the players from letting them do whatever they please. These are the fetters the shade had placed on them. You have no need to feel embarrassed if a shade affliction puts a player in a bind or forces them to do something disadvantageous. It's even better if the shade afflictions of the characters put them at odds with their own party. This is part of the fun of playing a shade mage. So yes, you have the player where they can't tell a lie or they must tell the whole truth. There are also dominion. There are certain dominions and aspects where they have to lie, or whenever they can't negotiate, or just something obscene. But because it's thematic with the kind of magic they chose, they have to act it out, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as you've already probably surmised, what shade affliction are we giving the Cabal of Acquisition?
Man.
Yeah.
That's it seems to me like, well, man, I would say like they age or does something like physically like that to them, but that doesn't seem like it would work with the game. So
Okay, let me hang on. Let me adjust this for just a second.
yeah.
As you can tell, we're going to scroll for just a minute.
Yeah.
Da-da-dum. Page up, page up. Here we go. Deny the shade, and the shade will deny you. This is where we get the consequences of shade afflictions. As the PCs adventure forth, occasionally they will misbehave and do things we don't expect or that runs contrary to their quote-unquote nature. They will break from the shade afflictions that bind them. When this occurs, they will experience something called shade burn.
Hmm.
And next to each affliction, there are going to be 3 boxes. And when that affliction is violated, you tick one of the boxes. The next time the player interacts with the shade in any way, they're hit with shade burn. And shade burn just does 3d6 damage per ticked box.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's so the damage acts as if it has cleave, which means it normally when you take damage, you know how you can chump block. You can do that in Shades of Dominion. So let's say you can only let's say you have 5 toughness and the damage is 6.
Mhm.
You'll only take 6. You only take the 5 and just exhaust yourself.
Oh, okay.
But if it has cleave, the damage has trample and goes to your next wound.
Oh.
It is possible that a PC can violate the same affliction multiple times before interacting with the shade and shade burn. Just roll the number of d6s for the number of boxes ticked. After the shade burn occurs, do not untick the boxes. The next time the violation occurs, simply roll the d6 marked up to 3 the next time they interact with the shade. Pretty brutal. So it's D6 per ticked box. So if they've been particularly naughty, they can take 3d6 every time they violate the shade or they interact with the shade after
So that's like
violating.
so
Sorry,
that's
go
like,
on.
Sorry. Kids, I had to step outside because my kids inside are fucking talking, and I had to step outside. The kids outside are fucking yelling around, running around. Fuck. Sorry.
You have kids; they're lovely.
Yeah. Anyhow, shit. Where were we? Go ahead. I got kind of excited.
Well, just shade burn, and you were saying it's like such and such, and I was all ears.
No, yeah. So it's very serious. It's like actually very lethal, right?
Yes.
So it's nothing to fuck around with. So that makes a lot of sense as to why like a compulsion like this would be a compulsion. You know, like you have to do it, or else it hurts. It hurts a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very interesting. I like that. So in light of that, I think, I mean, I don't think that something as serious as taking that kind of damage would be necessarily. I don't think that would be proportional to the use of their ability, right? Like it seems like that would be too big of a downside to have them have something like that. But it almost feels like they should have something that does spend a little life. You know, like they are in the end, like it's the ghost council. I mean, for Obs Identity, you know, I mean, they're the ghost council. They're already dead, basically. So they're kind of in the extort and all the lifesteal abilities. So I don't think it should be completely out of the realm of possibility for their negative aspects to be somehow taking a little bit of damage for using their ability, or just kind of for being assholes in general, for being part of a shadowy cabal that's trying to steal.
No. Let me try and how do I put this?
Yeah. So, well, I guess so. So it might be that it's something like they have to hurt themselves. You know, would that fall? Would that be something?
Let me try one more thing.
Okay.
So we're just going to go through a few examples to give you like more of an idea. So this is the shade summoning aspects for illusion. We're going to have the combat aspects, and we're also going to show just normal shade aspects.
Okay.
Figment for having the ability of having shade summons that are powerful because they are illusions, but they die when you instantly touch them. And everything in this kind of in this range. Pardon. I don't know why my throat just got dry all of a sudden. The price of this is that they must always bluff first in negotiations. That is their affliction.
Okay.
Now, because they're illusion and they're in combat, and they choose to focus their shade in combat, their first attack must always come from behind.
Huh. Okay.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah. So it's the magic defining what the player is, in a sense. So when I ask you to think of a shade affliction, I wasn't. What is it that an Orzhov must do to be what they are? Is kind of the question.
Right.
The consequences of them not being that is the shade burn.
Thing.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
All right.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm following you now. So,
let me scroll back down.
Orzhov.
No.
Dang, I'm trying to. Yeah. You know, like that. Yeah, that bluff first in negotiation. That's not, something like that. Like that's not quite it though.
No, it's not. And I got my wheels turning. I'm like, what would be the least Orzhov thing you could do is turn down a debt.
Yeah.
Like, to not collect would be something that would be very un-Orzhov. And
That's true.
the problem I have with it is, in a role play sense, I don't know if how do I put this? I don't know if it's compulsive enough. I don't know if it's I'm
Well,
almost going. Sorry, go on.
let's say it seems like it's almost too narrow of a thing. Like it would be hard to.
Yeah,
It's not going to be used often enough. Right?
exactly.
Like, how often are you fucking giving loans to people, right, or whatever? So it would be hard to yeah. It wouldn't be penalizing enough.
Exactly.
Unless, of course, somehow their ability was also tied into giving stuff away. But, I mean, that's not what it is. So that really doesn't make much sense. To always have to yeah. So it'd have to be something more serious than that. I do like that. Yeah.
So that was.
If there was a
Sorry,
market
go
in
on.
the game, say if there was a market in the game, then that would definitely make sense. But without without like the whole getting back and forth and it wouldn't be up. And it's hard to say if they would. It could be something like. It could be something like they always lie to you the first time they talk to you. They can't tell you the truth the first time, or something like that. Like they have to be kind of shadowy and deceitful, right? I mean, they're trying to kind of steal everything, anyways, right? They're not trying to acquire shit through legitimate means per se.
Okay.
So instead of trying to bluff during the first interaction with anybody, you just have to, maybe not the first interaction, but with some interaction, they have to lie. Like they just can't tell the truth. At some situation. I think that might be. Now, where that situation would be, I guess, really depends.
Okay.
But because if it was at first interaction, then there's too many opportunities for that to be nothing. But
well, and also, how would I say, the Cabal of Acquisition doesn't necessarily need to lie.
Right.
If you catch my drift.
Right.
I think what might be one often enough, like more of a higher frequency, would be that they must how would you say how do I want to put this? How do I want to word it? This is the Cabal of Acquisition, so they must attempt to acquire.
Yeah.
So how would I put that in gaming terms? So,
Right. That's a hard thing, because it could be, like they're trying to take advantage of everybody all the time.
Yeah.
So,
but it's like, they must.
Yeah. How do you manifest that in interaction?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, and it's like there are some things about the character development that honestly, if you're going to play, if you're going to consciously choose, okay, I'm going to make a character based on the Cabal of Acquisition. I think you as a player should be ready to say, okay, this is how I form my contracts. This is how I form my side of this is how I get my slice. And I want an affliction that ensures that the player is always trying to get their slice.
Right. Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
really where creating these shade afflictions comes into play. Um do I make it that they must hunt someone every turn or not in every combat? No, that might not be enough.
Right.
Um so yes, the shade afflictions is really when is really the crux of character development when it comes to how we're going to treat this new faction.
Right.
Um, hmm.
Now, I'd say mechanically is the way as your character goes. It's like or in the role play how it goes. Do you like do you have like an end of day kind of mechanic or anything like that?
Um,
Because
actually, hang on. Let me double check.
like it could be
As
something
an
like you have
end
to.
of day mechanic, are there other afflictions where you see? Here's some.
Well, you could do something like by the well, I guess no, by the end of the day you have to end the day with either more shade or more life than you started with, or something like that. Which I don't know if that's possible. Because I think that would kind of fit the, especially with ambition, right? Ambition is one of the aspects, and that's one of the things with ambition. You're always trying to grow your power. You're always trying to gain. So you would always want to have at least you would always want to have more of one of your resources by the end of the day, by before
Okay,
you came to the end of your phase, right? So,
all
and
right.
especially if you're taxing people too.
Okay, so
That makes
here,
sense.
so for some inspiration, I pulled up ambition.
Okay.
For shade summoning, the shade affliction is you cannot enter arrangements with those less powerful than you.
Now that doesn't seem very Orzhov.
It doesn't. The second one is you can never take the fall or blame for any failure.
Now that doesn't.
And lastly, you can never act outside your own immediate self-interest.
Hmm.
And and
Now,
I'll be honest, I want to go in this kind of direction. Not
yeah.
exactly, but something
So
in this direction.
right now, I could so it's the cabal, right? They're not
Yeah.
acting because the cabal is a collective. They're not acting for their own immediate self-interest, but they could be acting for the faction's best interest, right? Like they're always trying to do what's best for like everybody's trying to do what's best for the Ghost Council. Everybody the goat because they're the top, right? They're sitting at the top, so it's kind of that
Hmm.
dictatorial thing. There's the Godfather, there's the Don, right, at the top of the mafia, and vicariously everybody is working for his benefit,
Hmm.
right? So, um, I would say that like they would have to work for the betterment of the clan, probably to their own detriment. Um,
Oh.
in that, like they have to put the interests of the cabal over their own self-interest
Hmm.
because the cabal is more important than the individuals in it.
I like it. I like it.
You know, and in the end, the Cabal is a hierarchy dedicated with one person sitting on the top, or ostensibly one person sitting at the top, or one person vying to sit at the top, right? Which really, that's the ultimate goal of power, anyways. It's just to be consolidated, amass it, so that you can be at the top of the fucking food chain.
Pretty much.
So.
Okay.
So I think that as far as that aspect goes for them, I think that would definitely be something to tie into a character in there, right? Like, because unless you're the Dawn, you're a foot soldier, right? And foot soldiers have foot soldiers have foot soldiers, kind of thing, right? So, or it's just they call them lieutenants and sergeants and majors and colonels, but it's all a hierarchy on down, and everybody below you is a foot soldier to you. So while the Cabal is trying very hard to make money, for themselves, they're all trying to get theirs, but in the end, you don't rat on the family,
right?
First, you keep
right.
Shut. So.
Okay.
So, a member of the Cabal of Acquisition would always act to defend the best interests of the Cabal of Acquisition.
Yes.
Even to their own detriment. Because the penalty for not doing so is even worse.
Correct.
And so now the penalty not only is the shade burn, but it is you can face retribution from your own
Ooh.
Cabal. So...
I think. Well, what do you think about this one? You must not ever speak of the Cabal.
Ooh, yeah, that's perfect.
Okay,
that's
all right.
That fits with the Morozov ideal too. Is that like you don't? I mean, that's a bit demure too, but still, like you don't fuck with the Cabal. Don't talk about the Cabal. That's a good one. You can't actually talk about the Cabal. Which would be even cooler. Like, you can't talk about the Cabal, but you always have to work in its self-interest.
Yeah.
So always, even if it's going to fuck you over, you have to come up with a way to explain, like, this is okay, this is what I need, this is what I have to do. Right? So.
Yeah. Okay, so let me switch on over to present, share screen, window. There we go. All right. So we have you must never speak of or about the Cabal of Acquisition.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I like where that went. I did not expect it to go in that direction. I'm honestly very happy that that's the direction it went, because I was trying my hardest to be like, no, I want them to constantly be like wheeling and dealing. Like I wanted them to try and force a sale like every encounter or something.
Right.
Yeah,
that's hard to do. Right? Like,
yeah.
You're making shadowy wizards, not those ones.
Correct. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Right. So I do like that. You can't. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You can't speak.
You may never speak of or about the Cabal of Acquisition. Like it. That is.
Really cool. I like that. Yeah.
All right. Okay. We have it. That is. After I fill out the character aspect, and what I'll be doing is I'll be looking at other spells. After I flush out Exogeist, the next step is to look at key spells, spells like Banish, spells like other spells from both the Ambition and the Order attributes that they'll be using to combine to make their own particular brand of a faction, and take it from there.
Right on, man.
All right. And I think that's about it. I think we'll cut off here.
Right on.
Um, hmm.
Huh.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
so
said right on.
no, right. This is really cool. I really like this. Like, I really am. Yeah, I dig that. I like that right
Yeah,
on. Yeah,
I'm not kidding you. Like
that's
this
cool.
is one of the this is a system that I need to launch, and I have been trying to get. Well, okay, it's partially my fault.
Yeah,
Like I don't have the time to do this full time,
right.
but at the same time, it is literally the most awesome thing I could be doing right now.
Yeah, right.
Um, and I don't have a reliable schedule. Um,
Oh yeah.
having yeah, I'm traveling for work all the time. I'm in hotel rooms. I'm in airports.
That's
Having a steady stream day or time is hell. And when I'm home, I belong to the Shade Mistress. Like she's made that abundantly clear.
yeah.
I belong to her, and that
Yeah.
is I have to be like, honey, you know, I've kept you really happy this week. You are all gussied up and pretty, and Daddy's gonna go play with his friends for a couple hours on the internet.
Yep.
You can handle that, right? And even then, she is giving me side eye.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's and I guess that leads to some questions I'll ask you off stream.
Oh, okay,
But
that's fair enough.
yeah, I totally dig that. Like, I understand that. Like, you're fucking. I'm very fortunate right now is that I have my job is very stable, and I don't have to really go anywhere except for to and from my office, which is
Oh, nice.
which is nice. Like I have in the past done. I work for, and it's no secret. I can say I live in Idaho. I worked for the state of Idaho for 10 years as an IT guy.
Lucky.
Yeah, and I traveled all over, the state for.
Okay, so you live in the land of my people.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. So, and I was raised Mormon, but
Okay.
I kind of fell away from the church in my teenage years. Um, my
Many such cases. Many such cases.
Yeah, and it was more or less, it was a combination of things, but we had some local leadership that were just real dildos. Um, but my family is my sister and her family are LDS, and my mom's LDS and everything. So a lot of my family is still LDS, and I have no issues with them. I have no issues with the church. So I know some people get really upset, like butthurt about it and shit. And of course, there's a lot of really bitter ex-Mormons.
Oh, but I will. It's you're not one of them, and I
Yeah,
need to say this out loud. Some of the ex Mormons, anti Mormons are some of the most vile creatures on this planet, and that's not just coming from me. I know other people who stalk that space,
yeah.
and they look at the things that people who leave the church kind of fall into, and it is ugly out there. I don't. Mm-mm.
Well, so I have a theory about just in because I used to go to the ex-Mormon subreddit and stuff like that. So I mean I look at it, right? I've seen it. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I think, and again, this ties back to so many things, and I've talked about it on Sultan's stream, and I think I've talked about it on other streams too, is that it's people want the community, and this is very much what happened to me too. It's a member of the church when I was a kid, is that I felt very much rejected by that community, right?
Really?
I didn't feel welcomed by the elders in my church at all. Or their
Huh.
kids, because I mean, I grew up in rural Idaho, and
Yeah.
I was a little punk kid in the land of farmers and yuppies.
Yeah. I mean,
And so I was the one raised by a single mom, and so I didn't have I wasn't I just wasn't on their wavelength, right? And so
Yeah.
I didn't feel included in the flock. I didn't feel inculcated into, which is really the key to, because I watched it with my nephews. Right, my nephews growing up in the church, they were very welcome, very accepting. Of course, and that's because my sister and my brother-in-law are such amazing parents that they never they raised their kids so well. Their kids never had a problem fitting in and never not being accepted by people.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, my brother-in-law he was always in the leadership of the church too. But they were always very outgoing, and they were raised well, and so they were a joy to be around too.
Do you want to know something that is heart wrenching to watch?
What's that?
And it's along the same lines. I married into my two older daughters,
Yeah.
and we had two more littles that are mine. They're all mine, but
Okay.
you understand where I'm going with this.
Right.
And my bigs, um, when their mother was investigating and being converted, their biological father, who is I have no high this he is worth more to me dead than alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I know people like that.
During their younger years, he would take them every other weekend. They never got acclimated to the culture. They didn't understand the nursery rhymes. They weren't
Yeah.
even. Let's be honest. She was a single mom. We
Yeah.
were living in a duplex. They weren't well socialized. They were going to daycare, being dropped off to and from. While mom was working from 6 to 6. Like, she wouldn't walk in the door till like 7 p.m. I was the one taking them from school from a local, what would you say, pest control route. So watching them grow up in the church and not having social acclimation compared to my littles in the same household
Mm-hmm.
has been shocking,
I,
because
I would.
you and I grew up in a household where I was the accepted one, but my brother, who was, kind of neurodivergent and obviously flaming homosexual, he got, the can, he didn't get to kick the can with the big kids either.
Right.
And it's interesting to watch and see the dynamics between groups and people based on their experiences, and it does come down a lot to parents being able to be heavily influential on the child. I
Yeah.
you
Well, I think
and
it's a lot of that. I think it's a bit more than that too, because it's not just. I mean, yeah, you have to be influential, but I think you have to. It's it's how you have to act as a parent too, and
yeah.
I'll say this is I've noticed in my children versus because I don't. I mean, we never went to church. I never took my kids to fucking church. Um,
Mhm.
I would go when my sister, like when my nephews were blessed, or
Of course.
when their kids were blessed. I went to it when my kids were set apart or when my nephews were set apart to go on their missions. I went to all that shit. So, and it was always so apparent to me the difference between kids that were raised to go to sacrament meeting and kids that never had to do anything like that. Right. And
Mm.
just because, like, and I mean, like you sat through sacrament meeting as a kid, right?
Yep.
And I did too. And so it was like, you be quiet.
Yeah,
Be quiet.
you had to learn.
Pay attention if pay attention if you can, but at the very least, be quiet. Be good and be
Yeah.
quiet. Don't cause problems, which is something that a lot of kids can't do. Right? Like kids can't, and they don't hardly teach them that at school anymore.
No.
And kids can't sit and be reverent. Right? Like that is, and
Yeah.
that's always the word that it comes to me. Like those kids they can't be reverent. And probably that's just showing my Mormon roots, right? Is that because
Yeah,
that's the word. That's what I always think of
that
as
is the word.
be
That is
reverent.
absolutely the word.
And it's because it's what I was taught in in primary was to be reverent, show reverence, and kids. And I didn't understand that as a kid. Honestly, I just did it. You do it as a function because you're taught. That's what you're taught. But if you don't do it as a kid and learn to be reverent about shit as a kid, you'll never understand why it was important as an adult.
Exactly.
So I think that's one big thing that people miss out on, right? And I don't know. That's one thing I noticed, the big difference in not not it's just about conditioning, really. So some kids are
And
conditioned to be reverent, and there's times
so
when you need to
so
be reverent.
yeah, I was just going to ask, where do you fall on where the conditioning is necessary versus where it's just bullshit? Is really
Yeah,
um, my question is where do you draw that line? Because I'll be honest, um, I fall on the line of you. How do I explain this? If it's not related to my faith, I don't care. Like I'm just one of those people.
yeah,
I make exception for my faith. I am not a generally reverent person, if you can
right,
tell.
yeah,
Um, I make exception for my faith.
yeah,
Um, so, but I do. How do I put this? I expect my children to be able to have the ability, if that makes sense.
right. Yeah, no, definitely. Well, and well, you have to have the ability to do something to not do it, really. To do it, like if you don't know how to be reverent, then your irreverence is just reactionary, right? You don't if you can't be really peaceful, then you can't be really angry, I guess is really kind of what the so in order to show like the ultimate or the best irreverence, you would have to learn how to be reverent. You got to learn how to
Yeah.
maintain the conventions
No,
before you can learn to have
I
or the
see where
best
you're
way to
going with that,
actually
and
violate.
it's
Yeah.
you're not wrong.
So,
You're
I mean, but really what that is if by teaching your kids to be reverent, you're raising them to be a more forceful person later, right?
that is true, and I
'Cause-
will tell you, my my bigs who were not so keen on reverence in their youth,
Mhm.
they are the ones who now, for I'm sure a diversity of reasons, are not as how would you say it? They are not as mentally formidable. They don't have a
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
yeah, there's a frailty there. There's
Yeah.
a lack of discipline. There is a um
There's a vulnerability.
yes, it's a vulnerability. And not just vulnerability, it's volatile,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know that you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Well, and this is, I mean, that's an interesting thing too, that because I mean, my daughter's older, your daughters are older, those ones are older. So I don't think it was until the last couple of years that we, or I think more wider society has understood the damage that a lot of the feminist thinking is and upbringing did to those girls, and that like we're realizing how much damage is being done to society now through that feminist bullshit, like the total dismantling of our societal structure. And
yeah,
so I know I'm guilty. I'm guilty of doing it. I'm guilty of not, you know, of trying to raise my daughter in the more that more goofy's '90s ideal of yeah, we can, you know, like oh yeah, they should be free and everybody should have choices and stuff. And it's like oh yeah, but then but then we forgot that people have an obligation to society, and people should be taught that they have an obligation to society. Instead,
I'm
we raised a bunch of libertine women.
I'll be honest. Before I was the Shade Master, I was a streamer called the Carnal Conservative,
Yeah,
and my entire message as Carnal was, look, um, this whole conservative lifestyle thing isn't just more responsible. It's actually sexier. It's actually happier.
it,
They don't want you to know that,
yeah.
but I don't think we understood, let me
Oh,
rephrase that. I understood it, but I don't think the rest of the world understood that having the laissez-faire, the free love ranging kind of thing was detrimental to the human animal.
right,
The human animal isn't happy
right.
with that kind of free love expression. It's not. And so, even at the basic carnal needs of the human animal, we have done ourselves a horrendous disservice.
I I 100% agree. I 100, and I think that it has, and again, it's been modern society has taught people that the best path to happiness is the short and quick one instead of, and it's not. Yeah, again, I'm guilty. I was a dumb kid when I was younger. I'm in my late 40s now, and I understand that. I understand the damage I've done to my life by not sacrificing when I was younger. And
Yes.
I try to help my kids understand that some, you know, so
Hmm.
that they know that the path to true happiness lies through a road of suffering. You know,
Somewhat.
you don't.
Somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, not like the beat yourself kind of way, but that not suffering, struggle. I guess struggle is the better way to put it. Like you have to struggle to be happy, and because nothing worth having is given to you.
Hmm.
The best things you have are the things you struggle for. So
Well, amen for that. But let's wrap this up. If you obviously like, share, subscribe, all that wonderful jazz.
yeah,
And Dave, if you can help me spread this game far and wide, if I've converted you, if you're a fan, let's get a game together. Let's get some people rounded up, and I'll get some one shots scrounged up if we can get a group together and get this ball rolling.
yeah, man. Tag me when you got it.
We'll
Totally
do.
down to try it.
And with that, go out and throw some shade, everyone. Bye bye.
Later.